And Nathan.
Hey, good evening, gents. Can y'all hear me?
Hey, first of all, we got Gary Chapman here too. I didn't see, there's a lot of people here, so I didn't. What's up, Gary? Gary's the son of Dog and Bounty Hunter, and we actually did a podcast with Gary and his dad recently in Florida, so that should be coming out soon, Gary. So glad to have you here. What's up, Nathan? What you got?
Hey, fellas. First off, appreciate the webinar. That was great. So I'm out of Texas. Pretty new. I've got about a year and a half on the road right now. Given that I'm new, I'm still trying to kind of figure out all the case law pieces. But I've got some guys that are on my team. We'll do some traffic stops. Since we're Texas, we do still have odor marijuana. I know try and do a little bit more than that, but
Yep.
we pull guys out. Hey, we're going to go ahead and toss your car, but then they'll turn around and without asking for consent, without having like the presumptive like this person's going to be under arrest, they start going in pockets.
Oh, in the people's pockets. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and so they say that basically because you smell like marijuana, because the vehicle you were in smelled like marijuana, now I'm going to search your pockets, and then they don't find anything, whatever. Hey guys, y'all have a good night, and they send them home. And even if they do find it, I mean, unless they've got a gun, unless they're doing a little bit more, I mean, we're not super concerned with it. But also, that seems like a little bit outside of our scope without having either that, knowledge that, hey, this person's going to be under arrest and we're going to make that search incident to arrest. I mean, we're not even issuing the citations for this. We're just kind of kicking these guys loose.
Well, yeah, you're looking for the evidence, and then you decide whether or not you're going to charge, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's like how many dead bodies do they have? If it's only one or two, then maybe you give them a verbal warning. All right. So the question is, can we search the occupants of a vehicle if we smell the odor of cannabis emanating from the car? John, do you want to take a stab at this first?
Sure. So basically, when we're talking about PC for a vehicle, right, we're saying the odor of marijuana inside a vehicle, marijuana is illegal in your state. And so does the odor of marijuana give me probable cause to believe that there is evidence of a crime inside that vehicle? Yeah, if you want to get into, burned versus fresh, obviously fresh is better. Burned, they're going to argue that they were smoking weed someplace else and maybe they burned it all up, regardless if it's illegal in your state, rock and roll, right? So the question then becomes does probable cause for the vehicle give me probable cause for everyone inside the vehicle? And the answer is no, right? United States versus D. Ray, that's D-I space R-E. It's a 1948 case. Said basically just because you are in a vehicle that someone has probable cause for, the Carroll doctrine does not extend to all occupants of the vehicle. Instead, what you need to do is you need to articulate a nexus between the crime, the probable cause, and that individual. And so with regard to the driver, if you have PC for the vehicle, do you have PC for the driver? I would say almost always yes. The vehicle is a container, and so they are exercising dominion control over that container. And so if I have PC for the vehicle, do I have PC for the driver? Sure, but I'm not relying on the Carroll doctrine to search the driver. I'm going to be relying on search incident custodial arrest or exigency based on destruction of evidence if I'm not doing custodial arrest. With regard to the passengers, though, you're going to need some kind of a nexus, some kind of an articulation as to say, why do I believe that that person has narcotics on them, right? Just being in the vehicle is not enough. So where did the dog alert? Are they showing indications of extreme and unusual and persistent nervousness? Looking at them, am I seeing indications of an active drug user lifestyle, like meth mouth, meth mites, hair's fallen out, they got burns on their fingertips, burns on their lips, they smell like drugs, they've got track marks, no body fat on them, they are emaciated, jaundiced, right? Other than that, if you're going to search them, you're going to have to convince me that you have probable cause to believe that they have evidence of that crime on them. And then it's going to be search incident to custodial arrest, or you're going to articulate exigency. If I let them go, they will destroy that evidence that they have on their person. But you got to convince a court that there is a nexus between the vehicle, the contraband, the PC there, and that individual passenger.
Now, there is a case out of Texas talking about like it was a confined space, right? That's part of it. They had like three people in the car, maybe four. and the officer testified that it was like, I don't know what word they used, but overwhelming, strong, whatever. It was something like an adjective, not just I smell marijuana, I search everybody. And the court did uphold it in that case. I'm not sure what court of appeals it was out of, so it may not be binding on you. But it's not hard to do, but you do have to cross that threshold. We don't like cops going into court saying, "Oh yeah, cars smell like marijuana," so we start searching everybody. That's how you lose cases, right? That's how you get stuff suppressed.
Got it. So like a good nexus would be, we found a bag underneath the passenger seat. Therefore, we have reason to believe that maybe the passenger was the one who had placed that there. Okay.
Yeah. And look, and there's also this process elimination argument too. You smell marijuana, fresh marijuana. John's right on that whole marijuana thing. A good defense attorney will call you on like, what do you mean? What kind of marijuana? Because marijuana has different smells, right? I mean, burnt and raw and remnants, right? You're around people that maybe your clothes start smelling like you live in San Francisco. So like, what kind of, maybe some raw marijuana. And then you search the car, you don't find anything. Maybe the next person in line is that driver, because they're usually more culpable because they have almost like constructive possession of stuff in the car. And then you go from there and you look at the passengers, all these things that John said, about their, telltale signs that they're an active drug user. It's all that stuff. So just articulate it, but you should be okay.
Okay. I know you're talking also
Go ahead.
I know you're also talking about kind of the burnt versus the fresh smell. I know a lot of times when we do have that, I know for myself, like truthfully, my nose is just not that great. I can smell it sometimes. Sometimes I will just completely miss it. But one of the things that I'll try and do is kind of get them to tell me that it smells like that, right? Hey, when was the last time you guys smoked in here? That kind of thing. Does that limit me then, since we're talking about stuff that's previously burnt?
Well, look, there are cases. I mean, look, Texas is Texas, okay? Let's not forget where we work, okay? You don't work in Minnesota or a place like that. But the reality is that there are court cases that are coming out where cops are not doing a good job articulating stuff, and they'll say, I believe that they smoked in the vehicle, right? And one case is like, well, you don't get the trunk because why would it's like an open container issue, like. Why do you think there's any evidence in the trunk? Another case is came out. I forget what states, California, stuff like that. I smell odor of burnt marijuana, and then the cop couldn't put his finger on or couldn't articulate that it was actually like a here and now thing. Like, yeah, it happened like while they're like recently, like while they're driving, versus this whole I guess they maybe smoked in the past, right? Because if you like we all three of us drive a lot of rental cars. And a lot of our rental cars, unfortunately, smell like weed. But it could have been days ago that somebody smoked in that car, right? But it still smells. Sure. So if we have a cop that stops us and like, hey, I'm tossing your car, why? Because it smells like somebody smoked marijuana in his car. Well, yeah, that's all you got. I mean, right? You got to rent a car with sober drivers that are not up to anything. We're going to be 10 and 2, yes sir, no sir, all this kind of stuff. So I don't know. The point is, we live in a world of articulation, and you got to do your best job possible. We have books on this, by the way. The report writing book, and we have an RSPC pocket guide that talks about issues like this, but you got to really up your A game on the articulation. And it's basically what Shakespeare said. He said, "Ye who articulates the most wins." He didn't say that, but I know that he would. All right. Keep up the good fight up there. Check out the books. Go to bluetogold.com. Check out the books, man.